Hey, what's up guys? This is Rudy from Pro Car Studio, and in today's video I just wanted to talk to you about brake upgrades. We ended up taking our Civic to the track and we overheated our brakes at one point, ended up in a bad situation. That was with our stock brake setup. We were running stock rotors and pads. By the end of the day, they were basically gone. Even though this car doesn't have that many miles on it, you can see our rotors are totally blued. They were just overheated way too much. So we went ahead and installed some brake upgrades. I'm going to talk to you about why you might want to upgrade your brakes. Maybe you'll end up going with something a little bit more milder, but also go over some tips and tricks during the installation process, some of the specialty tools, some of the lubricants, and maybe even brake cleaners you would want to use and how you want to use them. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So what we ended up doing a couple weeks ago is we actually took the car out to the track with some really sticky tires. The stock brake system was still in place, stock pads and rotors, and they have, mild use, never really been driven to an extreme. We've had other setups where we have kind of pushed the limits, but on the stock setup, we've never really, pushed it to the breaking point, I guess you could say. So just coming back, we went ahead and, disassembled everything. You can see the rear pads ended up being completely used up, barely any material left on that. On this one though, it actually got down to metal on this portion here. So this is after a full day of abuse. Now you won't necessarily see this driving on the street or even maybe with the stock factory tires and the stock brake system. That'll do pretty much okay. But once you want to go faster, it does end up hindering performance a little bit. So on the front, you can see they're completely just gouged up and scored as well. The pads are just not going to be performing well anymore. One thing I wanted to point out is for the front, you will need to reuse some of the factory springs and clips and retaining hardware for the pads. Not a big deal there. Normally that stuff lasts maybe 2 or 3 brake changes. You just want to make sure you clean them up real well. But for the rear, they do include replacements, so they include all the shims and everything that you would need on the sport brake kit for this car. Make sure to check out our website or contact us though if you have a different vehicle and you have any questions about what all comes with it. So just to go over some of the specialty tools you might be needing for the installation of the brake pads and rotors. Starting off, obviously a torque wrench. You want to make sure you have one of these, otherwise you won't really know how tight you really are fastening down the bolts. And you need to be careful with that where you're working on the brakes, which is something that slows your car down. Very important stuff. Next up, just one of these little cleaners, deburrs, I guess, or rust removers. You can use this on the hub and it'll clean the mating surface between the rotor and the hub assembly on the car. So the stud kind of goes in there. You put this on, put it on a drill, and it'll clean up any rust, any surface rust that may have appeared. Same thing on the rotors. If by any chance you're reusing the rotors, you can use this to clean that up as well. One important tool is going to be for the rear. This is a little brake caliper adjustment tool or something like that. I'm not sure of the exact name. Compressor tool for the rear, and it has a few different kind of notches and grooves and stuff. This is a universal one, but for Hondas, it'll work just fine. And this is for the rear caliper to twist that piston in and get it back in place so you can install new pads and rotors. This one here is also a piston compression tool. This one's for the front. And so this one's pretty straightforward to use. It'll push the piston in. You want to make sure you have enough brake fluid though, obviously, in the brake master cylinder and the reservoir. But also keep an eye on it. You want to make sure as you're pressing the pistons in, you're not going to be overfilling with fluid. Now, brake cleaner, obviously a good thing to have. That'll help you clean any of the hardware, especially if you're going to be reusing any of the old stuff. It's good to clean that up. And disc brake quiet. You could use some kind of a grease or paste that they sell. I like this spray stuff. It works really well. You just spray it on to the back area of your brake pads. Do not get it on the front here. This is the friction material. You do not need any kind of lubricant or anything like that on that, and only on this side. And another cool thing about this stuff is you could also spray it down on your hardware and retainers and whatnot to eliminate any squeaks. It does a decent job of keeping the brake system quiet. Now, StopTech does include some basic instructions as far as the direction of the rotors. For our slotted rotors, you can see you want to make sure the slots are kind of going along with the rotation. It does vary, so make sure you keep an eye out for that if you are going with a drilled, slotted, or drilled and slotted setup. And one other thing I did want to point out is these rotors do have countersunk holes here and here, and on the car you'll see that there's actually like a little Phillips screw holding the rotor to the hub. So you want to make sure you use the right size Phillips bit. You want to make sure you get proper engagement. There are different sizes of these, so you want to make sure you have the correct one. Otherwise, you might strip the bolt. Not really a huge deal if you strip it. You could usually just drill it out pretty easily, but it ends up being more work than you really need to do if you have the correct size bit. But make sure to check out the description for a bit more detail on the process and tools you might need. Now, obviously I don't have all the sockets and wrenches here. It does vary by car, but you want to have a breaker bar for sure. Just makes things a little bit easier. Sockets, wrenches, usually 12, 14, and 17 millimeter sockets and wrenches will do just fine. But make sure to check out your factory service manual or check out the description below for some of the tools we use specifically on our 9th Gen SI. Make sure to check out the description for a little bit more detail on the installation and removal process of the brake rotors and pads. But definitely let us know if you have any questions. Feel free to contact us, shoot us an email, and I'll see you next time.